Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am not Brian, but I am Beth, and you are watching and listening to the Daily AI Show. And this is a very special show. It is our 100th show, and Brian will be here just shortly, but we want to kick it off and celebrate. Woohoo! Thank you for sharing 100 with us.
100 shows, hard to believe.
Literally couldn't do it without you. So... Or actually, we did do it without you for just a tiny bit of time, and we're so glad that you've joined us in our 100th show. So I believe one of the things that we want to do with this is to talk about what it's been like for this 100th show journey, and share some of our favorite memories of episodes or memories of after episodes. And whatever else. Did anybody bring anything that they want to share right now?
Well, I wanted to just go over what some of our favorite episodes are, but not necessarily show clips or anything like that.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah, I think we've had a full range of different types of shows. Just feeling our way and seeing where we're at and things like that. Especially with some of our earlier rehearsal shows. I'm so glad that we did that week of rehearsals, because it would have been a much rougher start if we hadn't do that. And then and don't worry, audience, one day you'll see clips of those, however embarrassing that they might be. But
well, I have a clip, but I feel like Brian should be here for the clip. If we
yeah, definitely.
Okay. It's a fun clip,
I think
right?
I think for me, our favorite episodes or my favorite episode, or type of episode, is when we dip into slightly into the little more philosophical side of things, because AI is having such a huge impact, and the technology is growing and adapting and changing so quickly. You just trying to keep up with it is daunting. So anytime we talk about what from the human side of things, what's going on, I really like those. And then of course anything that's film or movie related is a personal favorite of mine. And anytime we get to be a little out there, I think that's what it really breaks down to.
It totally does. And I realize today is Friday, December 22nd. It is Aloha Friday, and Jyunmi is rocking our Aloha. And so we're reflecting on our AI journey, but also we have 5 of us here. We expect Brian to jump in at any moment. We have Jyunmi, we have Andy, we have Karl, we have Eran, and I'm Beth. And Brian will join soon. And
I want to mention quickly,
watching,
checking in on comments. We have Jen Schwartz, Sarah Davison, and Josh Houston. So thank you for joining us.
For joining. Sarah, Josh, Jen, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.
Great to see you
if
all.
you have...
That's been one of the fun parts of the shows, when people have come in and commented and we've been able to have conversations with them. And I hope we get to do a lot more of that as time goes on.
Oh, hey, I just saw Tyler pop in. Thanks, Tyler.
Wow, our light magicians are showing, are hanging with us. Thank you all.
One of the things we've learned is that there are certain episodes that generate commentary, and we definitely love to interact with the commenters. It's not live voice interaction, but it's really quite engaging for us to be monitoring the comments and also continuing the conversation, paying attention to the conversation that's underway across as many as 7 people simultaneously. And it's been really great to have that opportunity to respond. And we also know from statistics and analytics on this show that the vast majority of the views are post live. So we offer the live recording. It's available on Spotify and elsewhere. and most of them are. I mean, we've gotten to thousands and thousands of views, but most of them are not in the live session. So it's a very intimate and small community here, and that's one of the really rich experiences that we've had. And I know that Tyler and Sarah and Josh are also involved in another one out there in their company, and they're often online, and we like to go over and watch what they're talking about. This is a real learning experience to be in conversation about something that's changing so rapidly, and the educational opportunities that we have for ourselves in listening to what others are talking about, what others are learning, and then also being able to share that and record it. That's been a real transformation for me. I've never really had this kind of experience where a full educational experience is now available, not only for us, but for the viewers, and then also for our progeny. Like in the future, these recordings online will be available for people.
If you got children,
thanks, Greg.
Hey, Greg.
Thanks, Sarah. Glad you like the Aussie accent.
Sarah, absolutely. And Tyler, absolutely. Teamwork makes the dream work. So maybe that's a good chance to talk about how we came together as a team. Does anyone want to narrate that?
Wasn't it Brian's note? Wasn't it a Brian, hey, who wants to join me in a podcast? And that was it.
It was Brian's fault. It's all his fault.
I was just gonna say, I just remember coming across it in the AI exchange. So shout out to the AIX fantastic community. See a bunch of them joined us today. So all fantastic people. But I remember being in it for a couple of months and just trying to find if there was anybody talking about X, Y, or Z, in my case, media and things like that. And then I just came across a note just saying, hey, I'm thinking of doing a live streaming show. Does anybody want to do one? And I was just like, hell yeah, let's do this. Let's just talk about AI. I mean, I can talk. I can feel the space. It's fine. We can all learn together, you know? And that's how I do my best learning anyways, is in group environments. I like the interaction. And if you checked out our show yesterday, you know, me and Andy were like, yeah, you should have that social interaction, and it really helps. So for me personally, definitely. Oh, hey Dan, how you doing?
Thanks, Dan.
But that's essentially my side of things. It was just, oh, yes, I will follow up. And then we got started like right after. It was it wasn't just like lingering out there for a while. And that was my impression. It was like, okay, cool. Then we started talking. All right, cool. And then the next day, we started putting the show together. So I really enjoyed it. It was a quick turnaround.
Yeah, I want to jump in on that and say that I came in on the tail end because I think Brian had pretty well lined everyone else up, and I just happened to spot his post on the AI exchange and went, oh, that sounds interesting. I mean, I'm into content marketing, and I tell my clients you should be publishing video and blog posts and all that sort of stuff, but I wasn't doing much for it. I thought a podcast could be really cool. Reached out, said yes, and oh boy, did I not realize what I was leading myself in for. Aside from having to start at when the time zones were friendly, it was a 10 p.m. start for me. For those of you listening who don't know, I'm in Perth, Western Australia, so we're AWST +8 time zone. That means we're typically 12 to 13 hours ahead of US Eastern time. And we are now an extra hour. So it's an 11 p.m. start for me. And it's killing me doing this and working with some Australian clients and the US client at the moment. So that's why I've been in and out recently. Apologies for that. But I tell you what, I've loved the whole experience, getting to know these guys and work with them. They've all been interesting and different people. They've helped broaden my horizon around AI because I'm a marketing guy. That's my primary focus. AI video is sort of my niche, as it were. but learning so many of the other things has been really fantastic. And, they've all been really great people to co-host the show. And then, as Sarah said, 100 episodes is massive. And, yeah, I mean, if it had been down to me to do 100 episodes 5 days a week, it wouldn't have happened, I can guarantee you. But with 7 of us, and some of us popping in and out, it helped maintain that consistency. It made it easier for some of us to turn up when we could. And that's, I think, one of the reasons we've got to 100 episodes. Loved it. Looking forward to the next 100.
All right, so this seems like a good time to bring this on, even though Brian isn't with us. So this is our, if I can get the video to work, this is our last rehearsal, and you'll notice that Karl isn't there because Karl was on vacation when we were just launching the show. All right, let's see.
That's right, he didn't turn up straight away.
How do we do this? Oh.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome.
Jyunmi, how do I put it on? There we go.
To Friday edition of the Daily AI Live, comes to you every single weekday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. And today, as always, we have a great group of people. We almost got everybody today, and we're going to bring you some of the the AI topics we think you should know about, and obviously talk to you about why we think they're important for you today. So, with that, I'll sort of open up the floor here. What topics are on mind? What did you read? What did you see? What piqued your interest? Do we want to kick it off from yesterday? Where do you guys want to go with this today?
Yeah. I just want to say to close off. This is I mean, we've only been going for 1 week. Okay, this is a trial run, but this is probably the first session for me where I've literally gone mind blown. So, good one. And that's just because we were able to explore each other's perspectives, and then things that Brian or Andy said raise my perspective and vice versa. So thanks from me for that, because that's a big win.
Yep.
Same.
I'm super.
And we're still recording.
Yeah. All right, you want to sign this off? Who wants to take us out? Anybody? I won't put it on Beth this time.
See you later, world. We'll catch you next Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Perth time.
Like the show. Tell your friends.
See you guys on Monday. Bye.
We're so green.
We were slick as back then.
Well, I think it's true that everyone who's watching this show and all of us have learned so much in this year. It's been really an amazing fire hose of information and change. And yeah, we're showing our stripes, so to speak. Now, I feel like I know a heck of a lot more about AI than I did when I started. And I had already invested a lot of effort and time in educating myself about AI before we started. What was the date? Approximately what was the date, and how many months after the launch of ChatGPT?
So we started on Monday live. We started Monday, August 7th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it was really 7 months after things had really started to hit the fan, so to speak.
And I have to say, one of the things that I notice when I'm engaging in the AI community around us, that I used to say and I don't say anymore, is people sharing their experience of feeling like they're overwhelmed. Like, how do you keep up with everything? How can we possibly do work while also consuming all the information? And I don't feel that anymore, because we're a team of 7, right? If it's important, one of us will have found out about it and bring it. And that's lovely to realize that anxiety is gone.
Yeah, I've personally found that a very helpful. Like Karl is my current AI assistant. Because the channels that he's dialed into are completely different to the channels that I'm dialed into, and there's some crossover, sure, but that's one of the beauties of having a community like the AIX and having our own community, our own show, where we're just constantly exchanging information. It's like, oh yeah, there's that thing, and just following up, and even our weekly news show, I think has been a huge plus for us when we add that in, just so that we can just touch upon, there's always 100 things coming out every day. here are the cool things that we like, and highlight all of those stories, even some of them that might not necessarily be in, the news cycle. Andy, what were you saying?
I was going to say, I think all of us have followed a kind of a growth track, a progression that from the launch of ChatGPT and the advent in history of conversational interaction with AI, the first thing that all of us had to do in the sort of AI following community was learn about prompting. And then, so once you sort of gotten, experienced with prompting, then it shifted over to automations, right? And then everybody's practicing automations and how do we, use those tools to assist us in exploiting the power of the LLMs without necessarily having to be in a live chat, if you will, with them. And now I think we're shifting towards app development. So, you have to have all of those building blocks, and we've walked through those things. And I think about it, well, should it have taken almost a full year for us to go through that? And the answer is yes, because this is all brand new to all of us. And there are some really sort of idiosyncratic intricacies to each one of those practices: prompting, automations, and now app development with the low-code builders. And I can see that same progression, by the way, in the service offerings that are out there from AI consultants and from the educators in the market, including the AI Exchange, offering learning programs that covered first prompting and then automations, and now eventually how to build these things into market-facing applications that you can deliver. And by the way, in amongst all that, OpenAI came out with custom GPTs, which created a whole new model, which allows any individual to create their own customized prompt plus knowledge-based tuning. And now I have a little council of such tools in my OpenAI roster under Explorer that I use on a routine basis. And I'm sure many of you have the same kind of experience with custom GPTs.
Do you notice, though, it's been August, September, October, November, December. So like 5 months. And the things that we've talked about and gone through in those 5 months, and imagine what we will have gone through. And we've been 100 episodes. So let's say just one more year of this, we'll be at what, 300, something over 300. What exactly are we in store for in those 200? Right? Because that have been 2 times what we have just gone through in less than 6 months. So everything that Andy just talked about, what are we looking at? And you see all this stuff in like Midjourney 6 was announced. So what are those things looking, and all the video tools and everything? And it was just in the last 5 months, all the really cool stuff that we just saw even too. So I'm looking forward to the next 4 months, 5 months, the next 100 episodes.
Yeah. I'd like to put a scale on that, not necessarily the specifics that we're going to see, but I'm thinking about like the show in general, like how much it will evolve by episode 300. So right now it's super casual, drinking tea and coffee and talking with people in the morning, to overly produced, wild WWE style pyrotechnics level of production. Where do you see the show ending up at that point?
Well, so Brian has joined us.
Yeah.
And
hey Brian.
Hey Brian.
Hey, sorry. But,
we have
it's very rare that Brian's not with us at the outset, right? And he's typically both as the initiator of this whole cabal, and also as in general, he's the MC of our show. We sometimes haven't had him available. Maybe on a single hand I can count the times that he wasn't available. But on the 100th show, what was it, Brian, that kept you away?
It's there in my title, Scale Consulting. As much as I love this show, sometimes there's competing priorities, and I didn't know that the meeting was. It was only on my calendar for half an hour, and apparently it was longer than that. So just making sure we were helping out our clients and things like that. It was something I had to be on. So didn't know. So yeah, a little bummed I missed obviously the first 20 minutes of this. But since you guys were talking about show 200, 300, I said, okay, well, we do 5 shows a week. We don't really take days off if we don't have to. That means every 20 weeks we do 100 shows. So what is 40 weeks from today? And it said it's Friday, September 27th. So I'm sure there's some fast math in there, and maybe it's not perfect, but Friday, September 27th would be our 300th episode, and whatever 20 weeks earlier than that, sometime in the middle of the summer, would be our 200th episode. So wow. I'm sure I've missed some of this conversation about what is the next 100? What does the next 100 after that look like? But I think for me, hopefully I'm not recapping too much of what you guys already said, but I just look back on this 100, and I was looking back at some of our very first episodes and our discussions, and it's fun for me to dig into the analytics and look at what isn't just what we think is interesting, but what's actually resonating with our audience. And of course, we want to get closer and closer to marrying the two of those. So, things that have done very well in terms of analytics and stuff are talking about ChatGPT, but just more or less custom GPTs, which has been more or less recent stuff, but that's been a big deal. When we've done even more technical episodes about LangChain and LangFlow, we're talking about Respell or some of these more technical type aspects, those shows have done actually very well in terms of listeners. So I think it's really interesting what we're finding out. And although 100 is still a really small sample set, of data, it's not, you can't make large sweeping changes off of that. But I do think when we talked about this at the 50 episode mark, when we talked about this at the beginning, it was like, okay, how much data do we think we need to have about the show to get an idea of what we are? And so it was this sort of idea of, well, when we get to 100 episodes, we'll revisit this and figure out what is the Daily AI Show? What is our our purpose? What do we want it to be? What does our audience want this to be? And I have to say, I'm really happy with where we are today. I think we'll continue to pivot and evolve because AI does. And so that's just a nature of the beast, is we will always be shifting and moving, which is what makes the show fun. But I'm really happy with where we are at the 100 episode mark. I mean, that's 100 times, let's be honest, not 30 minutes, probably 35 minutes. Whatever, fast math there, 3,000.
Keeping, aren't we?
3,500 minutes of audio. That's no joke. That's a lot of talking about AI and hopefully helping people understand. I just literally was on another call, and the sales team was not using ChatGPT at all. It wasn't even in the space around them whatsoever. And so we know that we're into it, obviously, but we know that a large audience of our future audience is not. And hopefully we're going to help them out along the way and convince them that 2024 is the year they really need to start playing and learning, and hopefully we can be part of that for them, because I think that would be super cool. Excuse me.
Absolutely.
That's it. Just happy to be here.
I did. So I have big dreams about what I was going to put together, and I really wanted to put together a series of Brian saying, well, that show ran long. Okay, so this show ran a little bit long, and
I know.
How long is your show?
It's a 30-minute show that never goes 30 minutes. but to say it was anything else, and this goes back to Andy, this is a little background information for our audience. This show was initially conceived as being an hour-long show. I don't know. That's just where the conversation started. I think that's where my brain initially went to. And all credit to Andy on this, because I've said it many times. I think you're 100% right. 30 or an hour is a lot to ask of your audience when you're trying to reach busy professionals that that can be a turnoff. That like I might have 30 minutes a day to catch up on the latest AI and learn something new and cool or whatever. But if you're asking me for an hour of my time, that's hard. And so I think in our pre-week of just trying, we went down and said, well, let's see what happens at 30 minutes. And there was some internal pushback of like, we won't be able to cover the topics we want to cover in 30 minutes. The truth of the matter is we can, and it actually puts the right amount of pressure on us as the co-hosts to work to get as much value in 30 minutes as possible. And we do typically roll over because there's a lot of us, there's a lot of voices, and we want to make sure all unique aspects and perspectives are brought to the front so that it's not just one person talking all the time. But I really love that we're a 30-minute show that doesn't quite do 30 minutes. Because if we did switch and say it's an hour, it makes it too easy on us. We go, oh, poof. We can, you know, pontificate and expand on this we could easily cover an hour a day. But I think we're in the right move. And I you know, for any feedback from anybody listening to this, I think the 30 minutes is really the sweet spot, you know, and if we go over a little bit, we go over a little bit, but we try hard to get as much as we can in 30 minutes a day. And it is tough. Especially when there's 7 of us on the panel, it's tough. You know, people get left out, ideas get left out. It happens, you know?
Yeah.
One of the things the audience isn't aware of is that when we finish the show, that's not the end of the discussion.
No.
We go on, and we actually talked it early on, but maybe we should record this part too, because sometimes we would end up in a much more animated and energetic conversation that would cover the topic in more depth or go off on tangents that were hilarious and would have been much more entertaining than the actual show that ended at 36 and a half minutes or whatever.
Right.
Someday we may get to the after show, you know, and we'll record that. I mean, we've talked about that, Jyunmi, right? Like we should just keep the camera rolling for the extra stuff. Because sometimes it does end up being some pretty funny conversations that don't sort of make it into the show. But I don't know, maybe that'll be when we're a little bit bigger.
Let's also welcome Rich King Gaulis, who's been a great commenter, and he also put up
hey, thanks, Rich.
Yeah.
Jen,
no, I love our commenters
for making it a little bit more human.
I love that. Thank you, Jen. That means a lot to
us. I totally agree with Jen's comment here. Yeah. I'm sure. I'm sure Aaron's sleep schedule appreciates the 30-minute limit.
Hey, do you all still remember that when I said don't look at your numbers or anything until like episode 200? Yeah, I'm still on that. Yeah. So don't look at anything until episode 200.
I agree with that. I think it's, you know, yes, I agree, because like, what do you really know? And I think, Karl, you were the first person that was like, when I said yes to this months ago, I was thinking in my head, I'm in this for the long haul, not for a 30 episode span or something. I thought that was a really cool way of looking at it, was you had already committed to the long-term version of the show. Yeah, like because that's what it takes. I mean, this is for anybody, like we don't have big aspirations of having huge advertisers, or like that was never what we thought would happen. We didn't see this as a money-making you know, a money-making adventure necessarily. Maybe it leads to other things individually for what we do, you know, professionally, but it wasn't necessarily the goal of this. It was just about getting together and pushing ourselves. And Andy, you've said it too, and I agree, which is this show makes me better at AI, because every single day I have to come up and go, okay, what are we talking about today? How can I make myself educated about this? How can I show up and not be totally, you know, ignorant to the topic or whatever? And that forces research. It forces me to go in on days where maybe I wouldn't go research a topic, to really try to understand it a little bit better. And then a lot of times I'm just sitting here listening and learning with everybody else who's listening to the show or watching our podcast, which is the fun part too, is I walk away from the live shows always thinking, oh, that was enriching. I know a little bit more. I understand a little bit more. And that's going to help me in my life, no matter what I'm doing. Because, you know, understanding this stuff is going to help in business for years and years and years to come, you know? So I'm with you. Don't look at the numbers, but look at the numbers. It's like...
just let me jump in for 1 second, guys. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't also give a huge shout out to our currently missing 7th person, which is Robert, the king of pushbacks.
Yeah.
Robert has certainly been a fun part of the show, and we haven't always agreed with him on things, and that's great. I think he brings a really cool perspective to it. He does a lot of stuff in the AI space that is certainly more advanced than some of the stuff I'm doing, for example. I still kind of see Karl as our tech guru. He certainly knows about 1 million times more about some of this stuff than I do. But yeah, sorry Robert wasn't able to make it, but he's definitely a huge part of the show as well.
Yeah,
for sure.
Love you, Robert.
And a huge shout out to Beth, who has the unenvious job of holding down the single female spot on the show. There was never any intent for there to be 6 guys and one female, but it's just when I put out the all call to this, there was no. I think there should be 3 of these and 3 of those, or this viewpoint at that point, or even international for that matter. That was just a nice happy accident that we were international to Canada and Australia, and we have those as well. It literally was
and
who's
Hawaii,
interested in
Hawaii. Don't forget, we also have Hawaii.
Oh, Hawaii, yes. But Beth, I do think you do a fantastic job of bringing in a fresh and unique viewpoint a lot of times, and I think that's super cool as well. And so, yeah, I don't know if the tables are turned and it was me and 6 women, and I'd be like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get a discussion in it or whatever. So I think it's super cool, and that you're always in here battling with the rest of us. So it's been a fun group. I know that.
Another thing about Robert, in the very beginning, we were trying to figure out how we talk, right? How do we balance like coming in on the end of somebody's stuff so it's not too silent, or how do we be polite? And I was trying to figure it out, and Robert would literally say, "Stop, let Beth talk."
Yeah.
And I would also like to point out that is no longer happening. No one is worried about whether I'm getting my voice in.
That's it.
We're now saying, has Karl said anything in the episode?
Yeah, you have to have I think that's true. We all have gotten more comfortable with each other, and I think we all have thick enough skin to know that if somebody cuts you off, it's not a rude thing per se, where none of us are trying to do it, but sometimes we all will ramble. I will ramble on. And sometimes you need that hard stop from somebody else who's like, we've heard enough of, like moving on to the next thing. The audience doesn't want to hear that either.
Is that the new cutoff? We've heard enough? Is that what's that? Okay.
No, nobody said we've heard enough.
We've heard enough. And then like, Brian, we've heard enough. That's it.
That would be, I would laugh at that. I think that would be funny.
Like herding cats.
Yeah. Maybe in the internal chat. We have a side chat inside of StreamYard that does it. And I just lost my entire screen. Well, that's fun.
Uh-oh.
We can still see you.
You're still here.
We can still see you.
Well, yeah.
So Karl, what would you haven't really had a chance to say too much. How about you have a shot before we finish up?
No. For me, I still think we are on a path. I keep thinking about, there's an Apple podcast stat graphic that's like, of the X million of podcasts out there, only 10% have more than 3 episodes. Only less than X% have like more than 10 episodes. So for us to hit the 100 is an amazing accomplishment, considering all of us who are very different places, different times, different lives, and to be able to come together, at least for me in the morning, just for over 30 minutes to have a conversation, which I always look forward to every day. So it's more of like an exciting part. It's like, hey, what did we learn, or what are some new things that came out the day before that we got to have a conversation of, in whenever episode that comes out of, or let's deep dive into a specific episode. So, and in this topic, you'll never have anything to run out of, right? We just things definitely. Yesterday stuff came out too.
So and then you can circle back. We have to circle back to previous episodes and do them again, because things have changed. I mean, anything that's like text to image, text to video, we could do a show every single 3 weeks and it would probably be new content or something new about it, because that particular area of AI is moving so fast. Especially
we talked about taking all of the transcripts from these shows and putting them into a chat bot. so that we could, query it. But I wonder if it would really have any value other than as an historical record, because things are changing so fast. Is the knowledge that we accumulated and recorded there, is it superseded by new events so quickly in AI that it no longer has validity? That raises something that Beth shared, I think, on one of our internal Slack things about the weighting equation, which is, the technology and the power of the processing is advancing so fast, according to Moore's law, that you can actually wait before delivering and beat the people who didn't wait, because the tools make it possible to sort of jump past them. The same may be true about what we've done. The benefit may accrue only to those people who are actually either participating or listening in real time. I don't mean in real time like live, but it kept up with what it was that we talked about, because it's not that fruitful to go back and look at the past history of what was known.
That is the craziest thing, is like, a lot of YouTube shows or other shows where there's usually evergreen content. Like that'll stick around for about a year, 2 years, sometimes 3-4 years. It actually still holds weight. We could talk about something in a month and it would not hold any weight. Like I would love to go back and be like, yeah, that was wrong. Or not wrong, but like, evolved, or like something that one of us said that's like no longer in existence, or something just that didn't happen, or it did happen, but like no one remembers it because something else crazy happened. So it's a very fascinating technology that I think we'll see over the next 300 episodes what that even looks like.
Yeah. I mean, if we had, I don't know if we had a whole episode on plugins, but we did have a whole episode on Code Interpreter. And now you'd have to think, oh, would I just talk about Code Interpreter, or would I talk about it as part of a suite of options inside Custom GPT? Would I even talk about plugins at all? Are there still value there and stuff? So it's just, you're right. It moves so quickly that, even when we are creating what we consider to be evergreen, which is like literally not the news yesterday, more of a longer form, watching the trails of the 30, 60, 90 day and where things trail off. And for us, I will just tell you historically, we do really good for 8 days. We have a good 8-day cycle, and then episodes start to tank a little bit after that. They still get views, they still get stuff like that because people are interested in a respell, or they want to know about a particular topic, or Mistral, which is coming up soon, and things like that. But yeah, or magical, is it, Karl?
Yeah.
Magnific.
Yeah, that's what's funny. Do you remember? Did we do an episode? We didn't do an episode on plugins because I think that started after us. What did we do an episode?
It started after us. I don't know if we did a whole show on plugins.
Well, it's funny because like I just saw the whole bunch of people put the letter about how like, oh, much of the developer community, OpenAI sent a letter to a whole bunch of people. It's like, oh, GPTs have now replaced plugins. And I remember there was a huge, everybody was so excited about plugins because that was supposed to be the new app store. I remember every single AI creator said that it's the new app store, and it's not the app store. I don't know how people use plugins. So who knows what we're up against and what's going to happen. But I'm excited to be on this path with all of you too.
Yeah. I think something I would say is that the only consistency in this space is change.
Yeah.
And for me, I love the fact that I learn so much from you guys because you're all in different spaces. It's great to broaden my mind. And like the AIX is awesome. I love it. Everyone should join it. But we don't get that. I don't find I get that regular interaction like I do. We're talking to you guys every day. That's been a huge win. It's been fun for me. I'm sure we've all had fun. I never thought I'd make it through to 100 episodes on a podcast, but
especially as late at night as you have to commit to be a part of this.
I'm looking in the chat box going, oh my God, I wish I was back there. 1 hour makes a huge difference.
Oh yeah, for sure. No,
I just want to take a moment to shout out to our 8th co-host, which is all of you who are watching and listening.
Yeah.
We so appreciate you when you comment. It really enlivens our conversations. We have a Gmail account, and there are plans for 2024 to let you connect a little bit more with us. But if you would like to give us some feedback about what you'd like for the next 200 episodes, we would love to hear it. We are, surprisingly, the Daily AI Show at gmail.com. So yeah, thank you so much. I just wanted to get that out because you are definitely the 8th co-host.
I think that's a great place
to
end
this moment of reflection on a history of 100 collective episodes with this particular group. Let's also think about the reflections that ought to be happening over this weekend as we approach what is a family and community kind of celebration, which is the holiday period for all forms of faith and cultural connection. So best holiday wishes to everybody who's on this broadcast and also those who listen to it afterwards. Happy holidays.
And we are still broadcasting. So
we are still broadcasting. It's like, who's going to show up for like?
I'll be here with my Santa hat on Monday. So we will have a Christmas show.
We've now passed the 40-minute mark, which is the longest show ever.
We're here for it, Greg.
Solstice, everybody.
The longest, Greg. You guys, one thing I should mention. I give a huge thank out to all the boys and girls at OpenAI and the drama and the excitement that they've given us in the last month or two. I mean, without that, all of us who have partners and friends who are not in the AI space have looked at us like we were lunatics because we're going, what have they done today? But they've certainly made life very interesting for all of us and probably a lot of you guys and girls watching. So thanks very much to all of you.
Coming soon, our offshoot podcast, the Daily OpenAI Show, where we only talk about whatever just happened at that company in the last 24 hours. That'll be our side hustle podcast.
New CTO. Yeah.
All right, I actually have to go, so I'm going to wrap this up for everybody. So I got to run, but thank you to everybody. Thank you, Robert. Sorry you couldn't be here, but I know you'll be back soon. But thank you to the other 6 of y'all. For everything, from what started as literally a message and a Slack community to this, and then everything we have coming ahead. I'm just so thankful for all of y'all for answering that Slack message, because look what that created. So this has been the Daily AI Show. We will be back all week next week. We're not taking the week off, so come back and join us. Grab your eggnog, grab your wine. If I don't care if it's 10 a.m., grab your wine on Christmas morning if you got it. And join us. I'm not judging. Join us on Christmas for a fun episode. We'll be talking about our favorite AI gifts, not necessarily gifts that we got, although that would be cool, but just the AI cool tech that's out there right now. So it'll be fun to talk about like robots and all these kind of fun things. We'll have a fun episode on Monday and for the rest of next week. All right. That's it, guys.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
I can get my stuff right. I wasn't the one to bring us in, so now I got to go find my banners and stuff. All right, here we go. Bye, everybody.
Aloha.
Yeah, happy Friday.